Welcome to the Survivor Stories podcast. It's a show where survivors tell their story, shedding light on the reality of abuse and the hidden underbelly many Australians face throughout their life. I'm Jacob Little, and I created this podcast to establish a safe space for anyone who has been subjected to abuse, firsthand, secondhand, or for anyone who wants to learn more about it and what they can do. A fair trigger warning, this show contains stories of trauma that may be tough for some to hear. Now, on with the episode. Hey everybody, this is another episode of Survivor Stories. This is our second season, and this will be our first guest of the second season. It's one of my bros that I met through a network, which we'll speak about later. So everyone, this is Richard Brooking. How are you, mate?
Good. How's yourselves? Hope everyone's doing all right out there, kicking goals.
Yeah, that's it, brother. I love that positivity.
You have to be.
Yeah. So, me and Richard met through a network, our network of people that have been to prison and have studied, and are currently studying. That have sort of broken that cycle and got out of it. And one of the ladies who started this group was two ladies, very, very good ladies, and they really keep our group together. I think there's about 7 or 8 of us that meet up every week.
Yeah, about 7 or 8, and then people who are sort of involved in the area sort of duck in and out as well, just to sort of talk to us about what they're doing. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's an excellent group, and the ladies are so positive. They really keep us on track and keep us accountable. So I think, having this group come together, it's a really good group of people with lived experience. Obviously I've been to prison. You guys know my story, but Richard's got his own story to tell. So we're just going to have a bit of yarn about like how you grew up, brother, and what crimes you committed, and then we'll go from there to talk about the amazing work that you're doing now.
Yeah, thanks, mate. So and it's been interesting, like as you rehabilitate, you reflect on your journey, you sort of work out how you got there. And so I was born in New Zealand, humble beginnings. My father went to prison when I was 1. Mum had me when she was 15. It was quite a rough area. And too many things happened. So we left Australia, just me and mum, me and my poor old young mum, and a single son, come over to Australia. And we moved around quite a lot. Like it was hard to stabilize ourselves, and eventually, like a family come along that used to take me in for periods of time while mum was sick, and then we sort of settled in that area. Now, because I had no father figure, like there was no men in my life, and I had no father figure, so I looked for male role models in the community. And my first male role model come in the form of my best mate's mother's boyfriend from school.
Yeah.
And he taught me how to shave, he taught me how to drive, like all the things that a father would do. But he was also a drug dealer. So, he used to sell drugs, and when I got sick at school, I was a pretty energetic kid. I'm certainly not without brains, but just school system, it just wasn't for me. And I had quite a big network of friends, pretty sociable kid, pretty good at maths and saw the margins in selling drugs. So I went fully for it. And, I was making quite a bit of money at an early age, at my own, what I said was my own business. And, but, one thing led to another. Those mentors changed and things got a bit more serious. And then over time, I started manufacturing drugs. And then I got caught in the end about 10 years ago now. So when I was 30. But I remember wanting to get out before, but I didn't know how, really. I didn't know how to have a normal life. I've been involved in crime for so long. The fuck, we're going to put together a resume. I could barely read and write properly. And all that, there's all those soft skills required to conform to society that you just don't think about. You don't let it. grew up in the situation that we grew up in. Yeah. So yeah, and then I went to prison.
Yeah. It would have been hard for you.
Yeah, like I think you can take it that way. Like you can go, yeah, it was hard, and you can sort of live in that. I call it victimhood, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to some people, because some people had it much harder than me and you, or much harder than other people. Like some people had really horrific childhoods, and it's really hard to sort of get out of that sort of cycle of feeling down about yourself and that. But I find I try and take the view of like, if I'm going to be upset about like my past, then I've got to be thankful about my past as well. Like, you know, I had good times. I learned a lot of stuff, even though I made mistakes. You know, I'm energetic and I'm driven, I'm motivated, and they generally say that comes from a challenging childhood. Like people who come from a challenging childhood generally naturally have that drive. If it's pushed in the right direction, you know, it can be quite potent. You know, you just got to, you know, feel that you can do it. So yeah.
Nah, that's good. And so when you were growing up and you were committing these crimes, like your circle of friends, you know, was that just, you know, crims, drug dealers, people going in and out of prison systems?
It was a mixture. Like there was some people who didn't go in and out. They mainly just took drugs. But then there was others that were in and out, or they were heavily involved in it. You know, it was definitely a mixture. Like obviously when I was selling drugs, I had to, you know people who took it. But some people just, I don't know, some people went real far down that path, and some people just wanted to be like weekend warriors and take drugs on the weekend and stuff like that. So yeah, it was definitely a mixture. And it changed as you got older. Like, as I got older, it sort of got a bit more serious, I think, I guess. You know, and had a few friends die, some by murder, some by suicide. A few people go to prison for murder. You know, just things like that. Yeah.
No, it's always, yeah, it's always, you know, there's always a serious side to, like, obviously doing that sort of stuff, you know, as you get older. And when you're a bit younger, it's probably just a lot different. And when you get older, the more serious side of things start happening, especially, you know, people going to jail, people dying, overdosing, suicides. So it's, there must have been some good times and some bad times for you, mate.
Yeah, there was. I mean, like, to me in the beginning, it was just a big party. Like, I sort of feel as though, on reflection, that because I didn't grow up with, because my family in New Zealand is huge. Like, it's a massive family that's spread out all over New Zealand, Western Australia, you know, and around. But like, I didn't grow up with them. But part of me thinks like that instinctively, I love that big family feeling. Like it's sort of in me, like genetically or something like that. And when I was partying, like I'd get everyone over to my house, you know, and I'd look after everyone, and you know, it felt like a family to me. Yeah, and part of me thinks that that's part of the reason why, like, I got into crime as well, is because I felt like it was a family or a community, but you know, it was just based on something else, you know, like it was just based around drugs. Had some really good times, man. Had some really good times. But you know, had some real hard times as well. So it's, you know, it's been a mixture.
Yeah. And when you sort of reflect back on them good times and bad times, what sort of memories do you remember more, outweighing one or the other? Or
in the beginning, it was good times. Yeah, towards the end, it was hard. Like when I got addicted to ice, that was hard. Like you just lose yourself, you know. Like it's the worst drug, man. That ice, like it's, you know, it's more, you want more, but yet you don't realize like you're losing yourself. You sort of think you got it under control, but you don't, you know. And the problem is, and I learned this later on, that like if you're on ice, you will hurt the people who love you the most. You know, you're inviting the people that couldn't care less about you, you're just there for the drugs. But you will hurt the people who love you the most, because they're the ones that will try and help you. And that's the sad part about it. Like, it's, yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So how long into your, I suppose, drug dealing, did you start like taking ice, and then were you addicted straight away, or?
Well, it was a big no-no. Like, taking ice was a big no-no amongst people that I associated with. But like, I started dating a girl who took it, and I was just pissed one day, and I was probably I would have been around 27 when I started. I think something like that, like maybe 26, 27. Can't remember exactly. And then got drunk one time and just took it, and well, it was pretty good, and then the ice come through, like it really come through in massive amounts, and everyone wanted it. So then, I just started selling it, and then just took it more. And then that was the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Were you using much every day or on the weekends, or?
Oh, it's every day. At the end, it was every day. Like, it started off as every weekend. Just get drunk, have a bit, get drunk, have a bit. But then it gathers and gathers and gathers and gathers and gathers, and you sort of, all your weekends go from Thursday, weekends, Saturday, Sunday, then all of a sudden they're Friday to Monday, and then your weekends at Thursday to Monday, and then eventually you just go straight through. You sort of have out like the coffee.
Mate, I remember them days when I used to party, and it's very, it was fun at the time, don't get me wrong. I never got into, ice, but I definitely was on other drugs, and I know what you mean. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Then the rest of the week's just a nightmare,
Yeah.
Do you feel good now? Like, do you do some other things do you ever feel like you want to like have another hit, or?
Never.
No.
Never. I would never touch drugs ever again. No. I just stay, like, I've been off it for, say, 10 years now, around a bit less, I think. Like, I exercise, I eat healthy, I look for, like, meaningful connections in people, and that sort of satisfies that urge. Like, I used to, I remember when I got out, like, when you're sober, you got to deal with your emotions. You got to learn to deal with them anyways. And I remember every time I had a breakup, or a failure, or I get rejected from a job or something, straight away I'd think either alcohol or drugs. Like, that's what I thought. But I learned that if you like eat healthy, so important. Like, not too much sugar if you're sensitive. Sleep, make sure you sleep and exercise. Like, if you do that and you learn to sit with your emotions, and that drive to take drugs when you're feeling a bit of hurt, it goes away. Yeah, and now, like, I know that, like I've got to apply to go to get accepted into the bar, or whatever it's called, the Law Association. It's become a lawyer soon. So, like, I can't even have like one little thing against my name at all. There's that stuff that you don't want to lose. That stuff that connects you to the world. Because I never used to feel connected to the world. Like, I was just like, who cares, whatever. But, you achieve things, you want to hold on to it more. And, I've done enough to not know that I will never take drugs again. Like, it just won't happen.
Yeah. So do you think you would have kept on going if you didn't get pinched?
Yeah. I felt like I couldn't get out. Like, I couldn't reset. Like, I was just, I felt like I couldn't. Eventually I would have stopped, I think, but it would have been like a lot longer. Something bad had to happen, or, getting locked up had to happen to sort of reset things. Yeah.
So how long did you do in prison?
Yeah, so I was pretty lucky. I got 6 months, 2-year top. So it was my first offence. And then when they come through, like, there was no chemicals, and they were the main chemicals there. There was just some stuff stored away. So first offence, I nodded to it straight away, and I got 6 months with a 2-year top, a bit more of a top because there was a bit of like sophisticated stuff there, they said, or something like that. Yeah, so I was pretty lucky. It could have been longer if there had been proven commerciality, but I was lucky.
That's good. And what was your experience like in jail? Like, did you go to Arthur Gorrie? Did you go to BCC? Where did you go?
Yeah, so I went both of those. Like I was just a backpacker. Like I thought I was going to get maybe 6 months to a year. Like I knew what was there.
Yeah.
The only thing I did really was just train, and I stayed out of like taking anything in there or any political stuff. Like I just did my own thing, and that's my personality, anyways. Like, it's not a good place. The problem is that the people who care about you do prison as well. They suffer. I feel that. But yeah, like it was a pretty, it was challenging mentally. But like I said, like I wasn't there for long. There were some fellas in there doing years and years. Like how can I sit here and complain about 6 months? So yeah, I got through it, but it did make me realize, this is time to reset, and it's time to change. I don't want this life anymore.
Yeah. When did you go to jail? What years?
2013.
13. Yeah. Okay. I think I might have been in around the same time, but I was at different jails. So, did they still do Fish Fridays at Arthur Gorrie when you were there?
I think they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago now, but I think they did do Fish Fridays. I think BCC was like that was like a military prison, that one. BCC, well, Arthur Gorrie was a lot cruisier than BCC. I quickly got into the workers unit for BCC, which was a little bit better, but the transition unit was, fuck, mate. The screws would come in, they're all pumped up on the juice and punch people up. It was full on. And no cards. There wasn't even a card deck. You couldn't box, which was what I hated the most. But yeah, like Arthur Gorrie was definitely better than BCC.
Yeah, it's pretty rough there, them transition units. I remember last time I was in there, I had to go to court in Southport, and I was in there for a couple of days, and it was just nightmare. There was just like 2 or 3 people to a cell. There was not enough food. There was fights. It was just fucking, it was shit, brother. So I know what you're saying. And what sort of stuff did you used to do in jail? Did you used to study, or did you train, or did you have cook-ups, or what you used to do?
I used to train like once or twice a day. I studied in jail as well. Did a diploma of transport and logistics.
Yeah.
I played a lot of cards, shop, and just talk to people. And I did a lot of training. Like, I mean, my day was get up, train, study, train. And by the time that's done, you go to bed. We used to cook up like because we're in a study unit. I think it was D4 at the time, something like that, in Arthur Gorrie. Yeah, yep. So it would be like maybe 15 of us back at the unit while the kitchen staff would go cook. So we would have cook-ups there and that, and the kitchen staff, would, the best apple pie I ever had was in prison. Like, it was like the most caramelist apple pie I've ever had in my life. Like, it was just a bit before I went to BCC, and it was good. Like, I think there's some good chefs in there.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? There's a lot of talent in prison. Like, there's some people with talent in there. Like, if you talk to them, you get to know their story. Like professional skateboarders, professional footballers. Some people who are like some really good painters in there. Yeah, it's full on. Like, it's really if you take the time to talk to someone and get to know them, there's talented people in there.
Yeah, there is. It's unfortunate, you see a lot of guys in prison just for shit, and they could have done something different, or there's a lot of drugs in drug-related crimes in prison. It's pretty sad to see, a lot of blokes in there.
Yeah, you get them with the drugs, and they're new, normal, good people. Like, it's just that the drugs that fuck them.
Yeah. So when you got out, were you on it's a court-ordered parole or a suspended sentence, or
Court order parole? Yeah.
That's a dream, court-ordered parole.
Yeah. I've heard applying for parole is a horrible thing. Yeah, and then going through it. Like, I only got, as soon as I got out, I enrolled in uni, got a job. I got piss tested maybe 2 or 3 times, but as long as I maintained uni and my job, I got left alone.
Yeah.
And it went out to like 1 month, monthly reportings or something like that. So yeah, and it was only for 18 months as well. But I mean, I was just focused on, okay, how am I going to change my life? I was like, didn't drink, train like twice a day still. I was just like razor focused on changing my life. Yeah.
That's important. Did you have much support while you were in prison, and then when you were transitioning out?
A few friends come and saw me. Like, none of the people I was hanging out with, like, involved in drugs did, but a few friends from school come and saw me. Yeah, it was really good to see them. But like, I don't know, for some reason, like, someone would send me their number, I'd get it on my phone, and I'd go to ring them, but something wouldn't want me to do it. Like, it wouldn't allow me to do it, or wouldn't want me to do it. So I'd never ever call anyone. I don't know what it is. Like, there was something about talking to people on the outside that I just didn't want to do. And maybe it was because I was told by some people, if you go to prison, do your time inside. Like, don't contact the outside world. You just go in there. This is your world. Forget about the outside world, because it'll do your head in. And like, you can see it at the phones, it's all of a sudden it's after dinner, someone's fucking going off on the phone, and the missus is cheating on them. Next minute they're trying to kill themselves in the cell. You know what I mean? Like, that stuff happens. And I remember the unit I was in, that happened. And the guy just something happened with his partner anyways, and tried to kill himself that night in the cell. And I just didn't want to engage with the outside world. I just thought, when I get out, I'll talk to you then. I wrote a few letters. Letters are all right. I wrote a few letters, like telling them about my experience and that. Yeah. When I got out, I had a bit of support. Like, mum was living down in Sydney. She moved up, and
what a soldier.
Yeah. She's there. It's been just like, it's been me and mum through a wild journey. You know what I mean? Like, her growing up was, mate, it was hard. Like,
whereabouts in New Zealand?
So we're up in Flaxmere, which is near Hastings. But my family is, on my dad's side, is top right hand of the island. I don't know what tribe they are. Like, it's hard for me. Like, they reached out to me. I spoke to a couple of them, but it's a really uncomfortable thing. I don't know why. I feel weird about it. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole family history there. I mean, there's First Nations New Zealand, Scottish, there's Syrian heritage there. They got like a reserve up there, like a family reserve. There's a big long walk through New Zealand, and their reserve or their area is the same name as that long walk. I can't remember what it is. And the weird thing is, like, at one stage, my cousin reached out to me on LinkedIn or looked me on LinkedIn, and I was at a lecture, and this lady goes, "I recognize your last name." She goes, "Are you related to the Brookings in, probably she said Napier or something like that or whatever?" She goes, "I used to go know a guy called so-and-so, and it was my father's name." And I said, "That's my father's name." And I said a bit more, only a little bit about what I knew. And she said, no, this is a relation of yours, but not your father. And then I was doing a project on repeat offending, and I sent out this message to this community And this guy messaged me back and he goes, I know your last name, where's your family from? And I told him, and he goes, you would be called my nephew. And I was like, wow, like just all these things happen at the same time, but it made me so nervous, to really engage with them. I don't know why, like I just felt real nervous. Just a lot of stuff happened in the past. Yeah. But yeah, like I was supported, and like people out there who are going in and out with no support, like I don't blame them. Do you know what I mean? Like they're going in and out of the cycle, like no matter what, nearly anyone in there, if you talk to them one-on-one, you have a bit of a heart-to-heart, truth, honest conversation, they all want to change, but it's hard, without support, man, it's nearly impossible.
No, it is. I see a lot of guys, because through the work that we do, we're currently supporting a lot of people in the prison systems, and so sad to see these guys, in and out. The people that we, help out are survivors of institutional child abuse, but there's still a lot of other guys in there that I've seen. They might not have been survivors, but traumatic past, and sometimes they might have burnt that bridge with their family, or they don't even have an next of kin. So with no support, when you get out of jail, you generally get to kick up the arse in a dole check. There's no support at the very end. If you get some, it's not very much. Probably not enough. So you can see why guys are just in and out of the system, kicking indoors as soon as they get out because they want to get a feed or they want to get some accommodation. They don't know any other ways.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So what are you doing now that you're sort of, well, you obviously said that you started studying, got kept into the training. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now, mate.
So I'm about to finish my law degree. This is my last semester. So I got into law. So I did an MBA in philanthropy and not-for-profits, and I did a project on the justice system. Yep. And that was part of the university, and it was about like research on repeat offending. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to be honest about my history, just tell the students and that, to see how it goes. And I did, and I used my history to meet up with people in the sector, and it was the first time that it actually been of a benefit, because before this it'd always been hard and hard and hard. And so I approached a senior person in the government about this research project, saying, look, I want to do more so I can bring back information about making prison industries much better, so that some people who are in prison can get decent skills, and walk into a job as they get out, because that would help some people's lives. And this senior government person pretty much says that, in other words, there's nothing that can be done for prisoners. Everything's been tried. And I thought, fuck this, you know what I mean? Like, I was pissed leaving that meeting. Like, I was pissed. Because there's some things they're doing overseas is pretty good. And so I thought, well, you know what? Everyone answers to the law. I'm going to study law. So I started studying law. And I'm interested in like policy reform, how to improve the system so people getting out of prison, who want to rehabilitate, has a chance to rehabilitate. They can walk out to a job they enjoy. That's it, mate. They'll keep that. They won't be going back. At the moment, you're limited to just labouring in a dirty old construction yard or something like this. That's all really is on offer for people who've been in prison. Some people don't want to do that. Some people in there are smart and they want to do lawyers or they want to do like engineering or they want to do computers or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know what area of law I'm going to study. I don't know where I'll end up. But, I'm involved with like some stuff that we're doing through the group, hoping to get some conversations going and hoping to make a bit of change somehow.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. It's pretty unfair that people just throw us in a too hard basket. As hard as it is to get out of that lifestyle, there there is options. There definitely is options. The University of Southern Queensland, which is where I studied. Did you study there at all?
No.
Yeah, I'm actually transitioning, but the USQ actually has a program in prison where you can study. So guys want to do their tertiary preparations, and I believe they have 3 different programs they are running, bachelor programs. But it's such an amazing job you've done, mate, because a lot of people won't do it, but you can do it, and it's not just anyone can do it. So like Richard's doing it, I'm doing it. There's a handful of us that are doing it, and we're the same as anyone else who's been to jail. We're in them jail yards, them dirty jail yards. We're in them watch houses that stink. I'll never forget that smell. But so what have you studied exactly so far, and how long have you been studying for? Give us a little bit of I know, like for you and me, I can sort of understand that language, but just for people who may, not know what like that is, could you just maybe break it down a little bit further? Because to my understanding, you've done quite a lot of studying.
Yeah, so I've been studying for about 7 or 8 years, and that's mainly because every time I tried to get into the job market, it was really hard. I was going to get labouring jobs, but trying to get into a job where my degree would be useful was really, really hard. And there's also that like fear of working in a job, people finding out and treating you different and shit. So I studied for about 7 or 8 years. So I've got like just a business degree. That was the first one I did when I got out.
Yeah.
And I majored in property development for that because I wanted to get involved in the property market.
Right.
And then I found it hard to find work. So I went back and I did a postgrad in project management, and they call that a graduate certificate in project management. So it's not quite a master's, but it's a little bit of a higher level than a normal degree. Continue studying. I got involved in charities and not-for-profits, and I like how they operate, like how they help people and all that stuff. So I did a master's of business, which is basically the one before like a doctorate or PhD, majored in philanthropy and not-for-profits. Because I know that like if you want to do social change, like the government, they don't throw dollars at this sort of thing, like throw dollars at incarcerating people, they don't throw dollars at rehabilitating people. So I know that you need sort of philanthropy, private money to help. So I learned about that. And then after my master's, I did that project on the justice system, and that's what made me start doing law, which law is just a normal degree. It's not as a higher level as a master's, but it's a different field. And I'll finish that soon, and then my conviction is spent next year, so it won't be on my record anymore. So
what does that mean? Can you just explain what that means? Because so people might think because you got a conviction that it follows you around for the rest of your life. I'm not 100% sure. And I know we've discussed it, like obviously in our group and network that we spoke about earlier, the guys that have been to jail, and we talk about it a lot, but I'm still a bit confused around it.
Yeah, so if you've spent less than 2 years in prison, after 10 years of not a single mark to your name, your conviction will get taken off the register. It'll still be able to be brought up in circumstances like applying for a blue card, applying for a yellow card, which allows you to work with youth and disability people. It'll come up when I applied to get my law license. But other than that, it's got mainly employers can't see it. And insurance companies, because sometimes you can't get insurance if you've got a criminal history.
So I noticed before when you were saying about, you're finding it difficult to get into jobs, and, maybe a labouring job wasn't so difficult. What were sort of some things that people were saying to you? Were they beating around the bush, or were they like, oh no, because you've been to prison? Or what sort of feels did you get, and how did you sort of get around that?
Yeah, so no one would say it's because you've been to prison, because you could take them to court. But I got offered a job once, and they said, you've got the job, you're perfect for it. You just got to meet the bosses as a matter of process. So in between that meeting with the bosses, they did a criminal history check. I went to the meeting with the bosses, and it was very short. they joked around about Breaking Bad and manufacturing drugs, and just said, "See you later," and they got a call saying you're not right for the job.
Oh, what?
I was, mate, I was. You just feel like an absolute maggot. Like, you just feel it's just terrible. Another one.
You're killing it now. Said fuck them. You're killing it now.
Another problem is, so if you've been involved in crime for a long time, like your networks aren't designed to get you a job. Like a lot of people get jobs through friends, and having a history. Like I had no work history. There was a 10, 12-year gap or something on my resume where I'd spent time involved in crime as well. So that's another, like, what's going on here. Some jobs you got to tell them. Never get an interview for those ones. Also, I tried to do finance, set up everything, did the education, like got the insurance, got on with the governing body. The governing body, so you have to be part of a governing body to do finance. The first one said no. I appealed it. They still said no. I appealed it again. They said no. The second one, I found one of the directors, and I went to his place and met him and spoke to him. And he said, "Okay, we'll give you a chance." So I registered with them. Now then, to be a finance broker, you have to be registered with banks and a thing called an aggregator, which basically you deal with the aggregator and they deal with, say, 10 or 20 banks. Yeah. So you got to get registered with them. I approached an aggregator and you have to declare your history. And they said, "We can't register you at any banks." And there was no process, like there was no appeal process or anything like that. It was just a simple no.
Yeah,
so all that work, I had to give it away. I couldn't do anything.
What a stitch up, to say the least.
Yeah, so it was just another challenge, like, that comes from trying to turn your life around. That's what I say, man, to the brothers and sisters out there who are trying to turn their life around. And, it's fucking, I hope you do it and I hope you stick with it. But people who knock them back for, going in and out, they don't realize how hard it is, man. These people don't.
Yeah, it's hard when you're at a low point in your life and you just get kicked in the guts.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate, it's been a good podcast. And then I actually didn't know that you're from New Zealand. I didn't know that.
No, I've been here since I was 5. Like,
yeah.
One day I reckon I don't know whether I face my father or not. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm interested in like I feel like drawn to big families and like cooking around the fire, talking around the fire, like having meals together. Like I'm really like not in like a posh dining room table, but like in a more of a barbecue scenario. Like I'm really drawn to that, but I've never experienced that growing up. Like it wasn't like that. It was just me and mum. And I do think there's some sort of genetic connection there or some sort of something there. And, if I go over there and brave it and see it, I might feel at home or something. Like I might finally feel at home or something like that. I don't know. It's a hard one. Human life is interesting, brother. It really is.
Yeah. No, well, when you're ready, bro, you'll figure it out. Family is obviously very important. I know it's a very important part of my life.
Yeah.
It's definitely good. I like to do that sort of stuff too. Being around my family, have a big feed.
Yeah.
Always room for dessert at my fucking dinner table. Yeah, no worries, mate. All right. Well, thank you for coming on today and brother, to be honest, you inspire me, because I'm obviously studying too, and I got a same goal as similar goal to you, studying law and getting into a law firm. And it's amazing that you've already, starting to work at a law firm. Like most people would struggle to do that without a criminal history. So hats off to you, brother. You've done very good.
Yeah,
you're an excellent worker. I'll give you that.
And stick with it too. And if anyone listens to this podcast, like, I hope you stick with it. Like if you're trying to change him and you fall off, I hope you get back up like Mike Tyson says, and yourself and anyone that is struggling, like it's a hard go, and I feel your pain, I feel your challenges, but man, it's trying to stick it out. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for your family. Like some people don't care about themselves, but do it for your family and just keep motivated. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. No one can knock you for trying. Yeah.
If anyone wanted to get in contact with you, do you have like a social media page or LinkedIn or something that you'd like people, if they want to reach out to Yarn or?
I will get on LinkedIn soon, just for working on that sort of stuff. But yeah, Richard Brooking, just find me on LinkedIn. I'll activate it soon, and I'm not on Facebook or anything, but LinkedIn, sweet, no worries.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for today.
Thanks, Jay. Take it easy, eh?
See you, bro. I want to thank our guests for sharing their story. If you think after listening to this episode, you'd like to share your experience, feel free to reach out. You can contact us on our socials, which you can find in the show notes. Once again, I'm your host, Jacob Little, and this has been another episode of Survivor Stories. Thank you for listening.